right, the breaking news, obviously, is that the vote to vacate the Speaker is done and over. Let's get an update from our own Haley Bianco.
As of 4:47 p.m. Eastern today, the votes were in for a resolution to be adopted to oust Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House, meaning the Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives has been declared vacant. 216 was the number needed to overpower the other side, with a final count this afternoon of 216 yeas versus 210 nays. This all started today at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. The first hurdle was a vote that succeeded for the U.S. House of Representatives to go forward with a vote on Representative Matt Gaetz's effort to oust Speaker McCarthy. Then the House debated for about an hour on the motion to vacate the Speaker's chair. The last time the House took a vote challenging a Speaker of the House was in 1910. But this has become a historic vote, as it's the first time in U.S. history that House lawmakers have voted their leader out. And that's what you need to know at this hour. Wilkow, back to you.
Thank you, Haley. All right, let's bring in Doug Collins, host of the Doug Collins Show on the Salem Podcast Network. All right, Doug, this is your wheelhouse.
Yep.
First of all, what does it mean to have Representative Pat McHenry take over as Speaker? Is he just an interim Speaker? Does that shut down all the business of the House? What does that mean?
Yes. And it was sort of funny because somebody had asked me earlier in the day, because what happened at the beginning when Speaker McCarthy became Speaker, he had to give a name to the clerk of the House, or a couple names actually, but one main name, if something happened to him, who could take over because he's the third in line to succession of the president. So, and I've told somebody, they said, who do you think that would be if this actually happened? I said, it's Patrick McHenry. And it turned out to be Patrick is simply a placeholder. All he does is get to the next speaker. He'll run the floor to get to the next speaker. But as far as anything in the House, it is officially done. There is no committee hearings. There is no budget negotiations. There is no impeachment, discussion. There's no hearings, nothing. It all shuts down until they elect a new speaker.
So we have a government shutdown, technically?
For legislation, yes. But if they hadn't passed the CR this past weekend, it would have really been, that'd have been a different whole angle. But right now, it's basically for the American people, they're on recess until they can get a new speaker.
Do you think Patrick McHenry is going to seek a vote to make him the Speaker of the House, or is he simply going to oversee a competitive race between whoever may want to replace Kevin McCarthy?
Yeah, I think it'd just be he'll just be there to make a competitive race. I've known Patrick a long time. He's one of the good guys up there. He's an insider. He knows it. He's been there a while. But I don't. It would be a surprise. I'm not. Look, at this point, I, or anybody else cannot tell us who the speaker is going to be, whether it's a member of the House, non-member of the House, or anybody, because it's just an open blank slate right now. And it's one of those. I was just telling this to someone just a minute ago. This is like walking into a funeral. You don't know what to say. So when they walk into that conference in about another hour, what do you say to Kevin? Kevin, I'm sorry this happened. Or do you say, and then the real test is Kevin going to offer himself again or allow himself to be offered for Speaker? It's pretty clear right now he doesn't have a path to win. So what is that availing anyone? I don't know. But if he stays in it, this could last a while.
Now, the truth is, under the Constitution, and many people might not know this, that you do not have to be a member of the House of Representatives to be the Speaker of the House. So they could nominate Donald Trump if they wanted to.
They could. They could. Yeah, you don't have to be. That's what a lot of people don't realize that. And so, look, there's a lot going to be said. The possibility of that is almost 0 to none. But could it happen? Yes. Here's the real interesting question. These 8 that voted for it today, there was a couple, and one actual surprise in that number 8. But again, who will they vote for? And again, this doesn't mean that there's just 8 who are against McCarthy. So, I mean, if McCarthy's name was put forward, you could go back to maybe 20 or so that were against him. They just didn't want to oust him the way they did. So now names like Tom Emmer, Elise Stefanik, Tom Cole, even out of Oklahoma. This is where you look for the consensus candidate. But here's the problem, and it's already been said. Matt Gaetz said it just a minute ago on the Capitol steps. He said, I'm going to extract a promise from whoever it is that they'll bring and do what I want to do. Well, I mean, you're putting this in a bad situation for whoever wants to take this over. But there is one silver lining here, Andrew, and I think this is it. You can do it one time, but if a few months from now you try to do it again, it's going to be a lot harder to do it because people are just they don't see what's happening here.
Well, power has a funny way of finding itself into places that people don't expect, like when Joe Manchin becomes the most powerful senator during a budget discussion, or if you only have five members who make your majority, those 5 people become very powerful. But if there was, let's just say, and I'm not playing games here, if there was an outsider, how about a Newt Gingrich? Somebody who's held the speaker position, very popular with conservatives, is a guy who got things done in the 90s. Could you envision? Because we're saying, no way, not someone from the outside. We're also saying, no way would we vacate the speakership. So that just happened, okay? Yep. We just vacated the speaker. Why would it be then crazy to pick someone to come in to cool tempers from the outside?
It's not, actually, but I will say this. The inherent dynamic of the speaker is the symptom. It's just the thing that you put the Band-Aid on, so to speak. The problem is you've got a gaping wound underneath the Band-Aid. And right now you've got 5 to 20, depending on how you want to cut it, depending on votes in the last couple of weeks, that can't come together in a basic pattern to decide how to do spending bills, how to do continuing resolutions or anything else. So really and truly, whoever you bring in, let's say you brought in a Gingrich, what's he actually going to do? Is he going to go up there and is he going to do what the 7 or 8 who are 20 who voted against something, say, okay, we're just going to go as far conservatives want, and then turn around and put the moderate seats, or the moderates are going to vote no, which puts them actually in power? There's got to be an understanding of this is the most conservative stuff we can put forward. We send it over to the Senate, let them do whatever they're going to do, and then we negotiate to where we gain something, they may gain something, but at the end of the day, it's not just a one-sided get slammed down our throat. Now, if you have a speaker who could come in and do that and get the sides to agree that 218 is the magic number, not the number between ourselves, then that's the case you got to make.
Let me tell you something, Nor. If this were a pitched battle between a battalion of conservatives and a battalion of moderates or rhinos, I'd be with the battalion of conservatives. Yeah. But the conservative heavyweights, Chip Roy, Jim Jordan, Thomas Massey, who is going to say these are insufficiently conservative members, right? You know, Thomas Massey is no rhino. Thomas Massey even took on Donald Trump at one point over the budget. And he said in his House speech, hey, I'm the guy that led the fight against Boehner and Ryan. And he said, I'm telling you, this is the most conservative the House has been since I've been here. So this is not a battalion of conservatives against the battalion of moderates or rhinos. This is the heavyweight conservatives are saying McCarthy's our guy.
Yeah, they are. And because, again, they understand what I think they probably looked ahead in the crystal ball and said, ooh, this, where we're at right now, is, I said before, this is where the yellow brick road ends. We don't have any yellow brick roads after this. There's no pathway here because it's just not happened before. So I understand what they're saying, and they're actually making sense in the sense of saying, look, let's find the most conservative path forward, and then we'll negotiate that out. Fighting is good, but you have to have principled fighting. And that's what I think Chip and Thomas and the rest of them were saying. Look, we don't like all of this, but we also know we can't fix it all overnight. Let's move forward in this process. And by throwing out the speaker now, like I said, it can't be said enough. Anything that you want done, if you wanted to investigate Hunter Biden, if you wanted to investigate Joe Biden, if you wanted to pass a border patrol bill, if you wanted to do whatever, or pass these 12 appropriation bills, you cannot do that right now until you figure out who the Speaker of the House is. They've in essence shut the legislative process down.
If you had a spitball, I got 45 seconds. If you had a spitball, a couple of names who might rise to the top here. Do you have any?
Right now, you have the obvious ones are Emmer, Scalise, Stefanik. But don't be surprised if you see maybe a one coming out of left field that may or may not be like a Tom Cole or somebody like that. And even a Patrick McHenry, possibly. I doubt that. But those are names that could be thrown around.
One, if we're going to go to the outside, Lee Zeldin.